Good evening. Wherever you are tonight, thank you for letting me be here in the quiet of your world. This is Love and Tears, a place where the letters sent to us are read slowly, carefully, and with a kind of voice meant to be heard in the dark. Some stories arrive with storms, shouts, and shattered glass. Others end in silence. Tonight's letter comes from a man who didn't cheat and whose wife didn't betray him. There was no single fight, no dramatic ending, just the slow unraveling of a life once built together. For 5 years after their divorce, he kept the same apartment, the same teacups on the shelf, and in the back of a drawer, a wedding ring he could never quite bring himself to throw away. Every year he told himself, "This is the year I'll let it go," and every year he couldn't. This is his letter to the woman he once promised forever. I still live in the same apartment we once called ours. The furniture hasn't moved and the walls still hold that same quiet. Sometimes in the early morning I hear the hallway floorboards creak, and for a second I imagine it's you walking barefoot toward the kitchen. Your chipped tea mug is still on the top shelf where you left it. I've never used it since. It just sits there, collecting dust like a memory I'm not ready to let go of. Out on the balcony, the plants we kept together didn't survive that first winter. I told myself it was because I forgot to water them, but the truth is, I didn't want to care for something else that might leave me too. And in the bedroom, bottom right drawer, that's where I keep the ring, the one I took off on the day we signed the papers. It's still there, beside a scarf you forgot to pack. I've never had the courage to move it. Our divorce. It wasn't loud, no slammed doors, no shouting that woke the neighbours. We didn't shatter like glass, we just drifted apart. One morning your coffee cup was on the counter, the next, it was gone. And I can't even remember the last thing we said to each other. It wasn't, "I love you." It wasn't, "Goodbye." Maybe it was something about the laundry or the groceries. Ordinary words that somehow became the last. Friends asked if I saw it coming. I told them I did. But only the way you notice a shoreline disappearing, grain by grain. You don't see it vanish until it's gone. When I slid the ring off my finger, a pale line remained. I thought it would fade quickly. It didn't. For months, that ghostly mark stayed, a quiet reminder that even when love is gone, it still leaves a trace. Every year since then, I've told myself I would throw the ring away. I'd take it out of the drawer, let it rest in my palm, and feel its quiet weight. Sometimes I'd even walk to the trash, lift the lid, and then close it again. It's strange, isn't it? How something so small can feel so heavy, not in gold, but in memories. I never wore it again, but it's always been there. Like an unopened letter you know you should read, yet can't bring yourself to. I wonder if keeping it was my way of keeping you. People think a divorce ends the moment you sign the papers. It doesn't. There are anniversaries you don't plan for, the first birthday you don't share, the first holiday when your seat at the table stays empty, the first time you see their handwriting on an old envelope and realize you'd forgotten how it looked. Grief after a marriage isn't loud either. It's a quiet, steady thing. It shows up in the way you fold the laundry, in the songs you skip on the radio, in the mornings when your hand still reaches for the other side of the bed. It's the life you keep living, with someone missing from it. Some nights, I'd take the ring out just to see how it caught the light. Under the lamp, it still shone the same way it did the day we bought it. We stood in that small jewelry store downtown, your hand wrapped around mine, both of us laughing, because the saleswoman kept calling us lovebirds. You wanted something simple, nothing flashy, just a plain gold band. And you said, "It's not the ring that matters, it's the life we'll build wearing it." I wonder when we stopped building. When the days stopped feeling like bricks and started feeling like sand slipping through our fingers. Sometimes I think keeping the ring was my way of holding on to the blueprint of what we were supposed to be. 5 years is a long time to keep a promise you never said out loud. Every January I'd tell myself, this is the year I'll let it go, the year I'll finally drop it into the sea or leave it on some park bench for a stranger to find. But every time I'd put it back, like I was rewinding the same scene over and over again. It's not just metal. It's the mornings we woke up with sunlight spilling across the sheets. It's the fights that ended with your head on my chest. It's the silence that, in the end, grew louder than the love. Maybe I wasn't ready to let go of the pain, because it was the last thing I had left of you. There's a drawer in my bedroom I almost never open. Inside, besides the ring, are little pieces of the life we shared. A faded photo booth strip from that rainy afternoon at the pier. 2 ticket stubs from a movie we barely watched because you kept whispering jokes in my ear. Your handwriting on a grocery list, just milk and apples, but written in that looping way I used to trace with my finger when you weren't looking. I could throw them all away. I've told myself that too. But every item feels like a thread. And if I pull one, I'm afraid the whole memory will unravel. So I close the drawer and pretend it isn't there. Short. The truth is, keeping the ring was never about hope. It was about fear. Fear that if I let it go, I'd be admitting our love was truly gone. Fear that moving on would mean you didn't matter anymore. But love doesn't disappear just because you're not wearing it on your finger. It lingers in the songs I skip on the radio, in the way I still check the weather in your city, in the habit of setting 2 plates out, even when I'm eating alone. Letting go of the ring isn't the same as letting go of you, but for a long time, I didn't know the difference. I remember the day we moved in together. That little apartment with creaky floors and a view of the alley. We didn't care. We had a mattress on the floor, a second-hand sofa, and a kitchen too small for 2 people, but somehow, we fit. You'd hum while making coffee. I'd pretend to read the paper, but really I was just watching you. Somewhere along the way, the humming stopped. The laughter faded, and we stopped being us, long before the papers made it official. Sometimes I wonder if the ring remembers those mornings too. Friends ask me why I never tried to get back together. The truth is, love isn't always lost because of one big thing. Sometimes it just slips away quietly, like light fading at the end of the day. We stopped holding hands in public, stopped kissing goodnight, stopped asking how the other was doing, and really listening. I don't think either of us meant to leave, but we both stopped walking toward each other. And when that happens, distance wins. The ring stayed, but we didn't. Some people say, if it didn't work, just let it go. But they don't see the tiny ways you build a life together. The way your clothes end up smelling the same. The way you start finishing each other's sentences without thinking. Those little things don't just vanish when the papers are signed. I'd walk past the coffee shop where we spent Saturday mornings and feel my chest tighten. Not because I wanted you back, but because the air still smelled like those mornings. Maybe I kept the ring because I wasn't ready to breathe without that scent. There were nights I'd dream of you coming back. Not in some dramatic way, no speeches in the rain, no sudden knock on the door, just you, walking in with that tired smile, dropping your keys on the counter and asking, "What's for dinner?" In those dreams, I'd feel the weight lift off my chest. I'd feel like maybe we were just lost for a while and had finally found our way home. But then I'd wake up, and the ring would still be in the drawer, and you'd still be gone. 5 years is enough time for a wound to scar over, but a scar still aches. When the weather changes, I could have met someone else. I could have filled the space with new love, new laughter, new mornings, but part of me didn't want to. Not yet. It felt like opening that door would mean closing the one we shared, locking it forever. And I wasn't ready to hear that final click. So I stayed in the hallway, holding the ring like a key I didn't know how to use anymore. The hardest part wasn't losing you. It was losing the version of myself that existed when we were together. You made me softer, more patient. You made me believe I could be enough. After you left, I tried to find that person again, but without you there, he felt like a ghost, someone I remembered but couldn't touch. And maybe that's why I couldn't throw the ring away, because it wasn't just yours, it was mine too, a piece of the man I used to be. There were days I almost left the ring behind. Once, I carried it in my pocket all the way to the pier. I stood there, looking down at the dark water, telling myself, just let it fall, let it be over. But my hand wouldn't open. I don't know if it was love or habit, or the fear of losing the last thing I could still hold. So I put it back in my pocket, walked home and placed it in the drawer again, like pressing rewind on a movie I wasn't ready to finish. People tell you closure is something you choose. But I've learned it's not about making a decision. It's about the day you wake up and realize the weight you've been carrying is suddenly gone. You don't plan it, you don't schedule it, it just happens. And maybe that's why I kept the ring so long. I was waiting for that day. The morning I'd open the drawer and feel nothing at all. But that morning never came. Last winter, I found the ring again while searching for an old scarf. It was colder than I remembered. The metal seemed to hold the chill like it had been waiting for me. I sat on the edge of the bed, turning it between my fingers, watching the way the light bent around its curve. For a moment, I thought about calling you. Not to get back together, just to tell you I still had it. That a part of us still existed, even if we didn't. But I didn't make the call, because I didn't know if you'd want to hear my voice. Sometimes I wonder if you kept anything from us. Maybe a sweater I left behind, a photo tucked into a book, or maybe you let it all go the day you walked out. I think about that more than I should. Not because I expect you to hold on, but because a small part of me hopes you did. Hope is a stubborn thing. It stays even when love has gone. And maybe, just maybe, that's what this ring has been for me all along. 5 years sounds like a long time until you start counting it in moments. 5 Christmases without you. 5 birthdays where I didn't hear your laugh. 5 springs where I caught myself reaching for the phone and stopping. The world keeps moving, but grief is stubborn. It sits with you at the kitchen table, follows you on quiet walks, and whispers your own memories back to you when you're trying to sleep. I learned to live with it, but I never learned to silence it. Last month, I went to a friend's wedding. I smiled through the ceremony, clapped when they kissed, and wished them all the happiness in the world. But when they exchanged rings, I felt mine, cold and small, burning a hole in my pocket. It was the first time I realized the ring didn't belong to me anymore. It belonged to a life I had already left behind. And for the first time in 5 years, I thought maybe it was time to let it go. A week later, I took the ring out again. This time, I didn't put it back in the drawer. I placed it on the table and just stared at it. It looked different now, not like a wound that wouldn't heal, but like a story that had reached its last page. I thought about all the mornings we shared, the arguments we never solved, the silences that grew too wide to cross. And then, I thought about the man I could still become if I stopped carrying the weight of who I was. I didn't throw it into the sea. I didn't sell it. I didn't even give it back. I simply walked to the small park at the end of my street, found the oldest tree there, and buried it under the roots. Not as an act of anger, but as an act of gratitude. For the love we had, for the years we shared, for the lessons I didn't know I was learning. It's still there now, and maybe one day the earth will give it back. But until then, I'm finally free to leave it behind. That night, I dreamt of you again, but this time you weren't coming back. You were standing under that old tree smiling at me, the kind of smile you gave when you wanted me to be brave. You didn't say anything, you just nodded, and I understood. When I woke up, the ache was still there, but it felt lighter, like I'd finally put something down I was never meant to carry this long. The next morning I made coffee in the same mug you once used. I didn't feel that familiar sting in my chest. Instead, I thought about how you used to hum to yourself while waiting for the kettle to boil. It's strange how even the softest memories can cut you open for years. Then one day, they just rest quietly in your hands, asking for nothing. I sipped my coffee, and for the first time it tasted like mine again. I used to think moving on meant forgetting. But now I see it's about remembering without feeling like you're breaking all over again. I still remember your laugh. The way you would roll your eyes when I made bad coffee. The nights we stayed up too late, arguing about nothing, just because neither of us wanted to go to bed angry. Those memories don't hurt the way they used to. They've softened. Like the edges of an old photograph, handled too many times to be sharp anymore. I wonder if you'd even recognize me now. I've grown older, quieter, maybe a little kinder. Sometimes I wish I could tell you that I learned things about love only after we lost it. But I also know you don't need to hear it. Because the truth is, this isn't about finding my way back to you, it's about finding my way back to myself. Last Sunday, I walked past the jewellery store where we bought our rings. The display had changed, but I still saw us there. You trying on band after band, me pretending not to care, while secretly hoping you'd choose the one I liked. I didn't stop to look this time. I just kept walking. And for the first time, it didn't feel like leaving something behind. It felt like moving towards something new. I think that's the quiet truth about healing. You don't notice it happening. It's not fireworks, not a grand moment where everything changes. It's small, subtle, A little more light in the morning. A little less ache at night. One day you realize you've gone a whole week without reaching for the past. And when that happens, you know you're ready to let the last piece go. This morning I walked back to that old tree in the park. I didn't dig for the ring. I didn't even look for the exact spot. I just stood there listening to the wind through the branches. It felt peaceful, like the tree had taken it from me and was keeping it safe in a place I no longer needed to visit. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in years I didn't picture your face. I pictured mine. So, this is my goodbye. Not to you, but to the version of me who didn't know how to let go. Thank you for the love, for the years, for the lessons I didn't understand until now. I'll carry them forward, without the ring, but with a heart that finally feels light enough to keep walking. And wherever you are, I hope you've found your peace too.